And welcome. It's time for your newspaper review right here on Alpha Jiri. And I'm joined by Rose, who we have to welcome with the proverbial 2 words, leave, huisha. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Hope you rested and enjoyed yourself, though.
I did.
Okay, absolutely fantastic stuff. Let's start off, of course, with the People Daily. On the front page of the PD, it's all about the Ruaraka land that has been caused quite the storm.
Yes.
From what began as something that we thought was a minor affair, and now more details emerge, and it seems like more players were actually involved in this particular transaction.
Yes.
Ruaraka land deal a fraud, says Amina, the CS. Now, CS declares that despite the payout of a whopping 1.5 billion, which was hastily sourced through supplementary budgets to the alleged owner, neither the Education Ministry nor the 2 schools have documentation to show ownership of the property. So the government has paid, but there's no title deed that has changed hands. And that was a big issue they were asking even during the hearing in terms of the instruments of ownership. So yes, we can see the money left government coffers.
Yes.
But what was gotten in return? Because it's an exchange.
Yes.
And they were at pains to try and explain that. Also due to the fact that this particular issue had been going on for quite a while. It wasn't in a year. It had been going on for, I think, probably 20 years or so. And then all of a sudden they had to really hastily rush this process, make sure they're paid this time, and then they wanted to pay them also 2018, 2019, the next 1.5 billion.
Yes.
But they were caught in between those particular transactions.
Before they disbanded the last amount.
Yeah.
And Amina is saying that there was no hurry to pay the owner of the land. So she doesn't understand why this supplementary budget was so rushed so that they could acquire the land. And you know, if you're going to buy property, at least show some documentation for this land. But if there's no documentation, how are you supposed to trace the money and know where it went? Very true. Yes.
And of course, even in this particular story, it almost now gives a bit of credibility to the testimony that Onyango had given earlier. Because right at the beginning, he was a witness who came in and said that this thing is bigger than you think. He's the one who actually named Matiang'i before anyone had thought about it. Swazuri put him in the mix of things as well. And now, as things slowly begin to reveal themselves, realize, okay, fine, there are very many people at play. Even the PS Education, Belio Kipsang, also has some questions to answer.
So it's netting a lot of people.
Very true.
And, you know, sometimes I worry when you see a lot of players in a scandal, because I think we tend to lose sight of what is happening when accusations are flying back and forth. I just hope they can solve this, because we have too many scandals as it is. Now this one adds to a whole myriad into the corruption scandals.
Very true.
Yes.
And also, just to add on to that, of course, also a man in the eye of the storm as far as Ruaraka, the Ruaraka land scam is concerned. One Francis Mboro, who talks about the fact that this actually is the machinations of also the county government. They're very corrupt. In fact, he's talking about the fact that they've stolen different parcels of land from him and given them to other wealthier people. And he says the government is supposed to pay him, I think, was it 300 billion Kenya shillings? Wow. And he's very confident. He's going to take it to an international court, and he's confident he'll get this money.
That's a lot of money.
Very.
A lot of money. Can you even afford that?
I don't know, because it's, of course, what utterances he made when he was undergoing investigations at the ESEC. So right now, we still don't know what's true, what's false.
And that's the problem with Kenya. It's as if no one ever knows what's happening. So everyone is coming up with their theory. So it's very hard to determine which theory is actually true, which one is actually false.
Very true.
And then, of course, you take the case to court, and then there's a whole lot of struggle between the two systems of the two branches of government. And sometimes we tend to lose sight of where the story really is. True. So I hope they can give a concrete story, and evidence and everything else, so that we're able to solve this. True. Yes.
Indeed, of course, you can get that story and more details on page 5 of the People Daily. Still on the front page, how lawyers mint millions from counties. Nairobi, Narok, top list of devolved units procuring legal services at exorbitant costs. This has been now a loophole. Also, interestingly, with the same story, former Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero had also been in the crosshairs when we realized that we had actually been paying for a lawyer, but it was his personal lawyer being paid from government county funds.
I don't know what is this obsession with paying exorbitant amounts to people who serve counties. I mean, Narok and Nairobi spending 1 billion 1 billion in paying lawyers for just 2 years. It's crazy, especially because there are other mechanisms to solve disputes. So before you start engaging lawyers or going to courts, I think we need to employ mitigation and the likes before we rush. But that's a lot of money. A lot. Money that could have been used for development.
Very true. Yes. 1 billion could have done a lot in the respective counties.
Yes.
Okay, you can get more details on how your tax money and all of the duties that you're paying have been used. That, of course, is on page 6 of the People Daily. Also on the front page, Danji Pama, who tailored Mzee Kenyatta's famous leather jacket, working from his home in Nakuru. Of course, there's a picture of him right there. Unfortunately, Pama, who died yesterday, and he will be remembered for patriotism and attending all national days, even in his sunset years with his failing health. So, of course, he was Mzee Kenyatta's tailor, and, of course, he's finally taken his bow as well, of course, after really working hard and just using his craft to, get himself before kings, as they say.
And you'd think that maybe your job is not that important, and then you bump heads with the heads of state, and after that, of course, there's a string of government officials who procured his services. So he rests in peace.
Very true.
Yes.
Of course, and just condolences to the friends and family, of course, of Danji Pama. Also on the front page, it's all about John Barry talking about the fact that Raila is a gift God placed in our hands. Very, very loyal lieutenant right there. We'll move on to that story, of course, on the second page. Raila, divine political gift, declares Mbadi. He tells those angling to succeed him when he retires to hold their horses because, as he said, the gift yet isn't done. Giving. So there's plenty much more coming from this political gift.
The things politicians say. I wish they would let Kenyans say that instead of themselves. But he's hinting at a possible Raila presidential bid in 2022. So these politicians are weird. One will say, I'm not talking about 2022 right now, and then someone else in his camp is saying that he's going to be a presidential candidate.
Interesting times. Interesting times, of course. Right, and of course, this coming from the fact that a while back there had been a bit of uncertainty that had rocked ODM. People are really wondering if it will be able to hold. There was a lot of talks about what's going to happen there. Is there a fallout taking place? And because the Mbadi declared political gift was also conspicuously silent on the goings on there. We probably thought ODM had come to its end, but it seems like they still have a few more kicks left in there.
True. Yeah.
Okay. Also on page 2 of the PD, very interesting, Ukambani group using technology just to move key issues forward. Ukambani WhatsApp group keen to promote education. Now, of course, when all of other people are using WhatsApp groups to send these forwards that you can't even share with...
nasty videos.
You can't share with someone who you respect. You can't. You see it and you delete.
Oh,
well, there's a group that's harnessing technology for the better, and the WhatsApp group was turned into a community-based organization and has launched a campaign to promote education standards in Machakos, Makueni, and Kitui counties.
Using technology for good, because most of the time we worry that technology has been used for all the wrong reasons. Like you said, you get a text on WhatsApp from a friend, maybe on a WhatsApp group, and you're even embarrassed to read it.
You can't.
But, it's good that they're actually doing this to promote education, and we also know that education is pretty important.
Very true.
Probably it's the biggest equalizer. So if they're doing this, if they're using technology to prop up education, kudos to them.
Good stuff for them, of course, and let them continue doing that.
Yes.
And let's keep it technology-related matters as we move on to page 3. It is indeed Tech Tuesday. Robots born of wacky science. Again, I think the only investigation we need to do right here at Alfajiri is go to Michael Moraya's computer. Look at his history. It will tell us so many things about this man's life, Shiro. Every single morning, you think you've been shocked and can't be shocked any further. He outdoes himself every single time.
I genuinely imagine that he lives in a basement. I really do.
A dark one.
A dark one. One as dark as my soul. Anyway, let's take a look at page 3 really quickly. I keep telling you guys, the machines are going to take over. We are playing around creating robots that are smarter and smarter and smarter. And one day, they will be our metallic overlords, and there's nothing we'll be able to do about it. Let's take a look at, what machines are doing now, robots. So basically, there's a robot called the Tomaton. It's a robot that feeds its wearer tomatoes as he runs. So, one of the things that you must be wondering is, why would anyone create a robot whose only work is to feed the wearer tomatoes when you can do the same thing with one that feeds the wearer potatoes. But, you know, as they say, potato, tomato. So the tomato was a creation of the Japanese company Kagome. It has a tomato-looking head and releases tomatoes from its mouth straight into 2 circular arms and move towards the wearer's mouth. The tomato is carried on the wearer's shoulder. Now, despite apparent frivolity, now the company defended the project, saying people need to eat tomatoes while running because they contain nutritive agents that help fight fatigue. I would say I give this story a hard pass. So then there's another robot here created by yet another Japanese company. It's called the swine flu robot. It exhibits symptoms of a swine flu patient and will even die, in quotes, if not properly treated. Now, the human-sized robot was built to train healthcare workers on how to treat swine flu victims. So it looks like a human, is even covered in a material that replicates the features of human skin. Now, this robot will sweat, moan, and cry and convulse just as someone who has the swine flu, and its condition will improve or worsen depending on the quality of care. Now, when it's treated properly, it will definitely die. So this is actually a really good thing when it's like basically flight simulators but for doctors. So then there's a digital Buddhist that's available to preside over funerals. It's a Japanese company yet again created a robot called Pepper. It is a digital Buddhist monk that the company has labeled a cheaper alternative to human priests. So for the alternative of 45,000 shillings, people can hire Pepper, the Buddhist robot, to preside over the funeral of any loved ones instead of hiring a real monk. So now you know how you think you don't have any fans in the world and no one likes you. Well, all you can do, like this Korean baseball team and create your own fans out of robots. Instead of trying to lure real people, they're now filling the stadiums with robots, which happened after a long losing streak last year. They started with their first game and didn't ever end. They started having trouble filling their seats because few fans just wanted to see the team lose over and over again. So they set up a group of robots that fill the empty roles, programmed to cheer, chant, do the wave, and be nearly everything else a real human fan would do. This is so sad, Jeff, because how people will extrapolate this to creating their own friends that tell them that they're awesome every 3 minutes, which makes me really sad. However, I still believe that the Japanese owe me the potato robot. They do.
It's coming soon, coming very soon.
You,
Next
Jeff.
time you're out and about walking and you need to be fed your potatoes, they'll sort you out.
As I run.
As you run.
Which I never do.
Thanks for that, Shiro. Of course, if you have any feedback, of course, on those wacky stories from Michael Morale, please get in touch with us. Tweet us at K24TV across all the platforms. We're on Twitter as well. You can get us there. And we'll sample those, of course, across the show right here. Let's continue with your newspaper review. Go on to the 4th page of the People Daily. Directors of firms linked to Transformers scam charged. Now, there are 10 directors of companies implicated in the fraudulent acquisition of the Kenya Power funds through supply of substandard transformers were yesterday charged in a Nairobi court. This happening while on the other side of town, one senior manager, when all of this was going on, Mr. Ben Chumo, undergoing vetting to get into the SRC chair. Interesting times. Interesting times in this country. Like
they say, no good deed goes unpunished, and of course, no bad deed goes unrewarded. So I mean, we are not even finished the court case. Why are you vetting the guy? I think you need to give time. We finish the court case, then you can maybe get him a job.
And it's very funny, even during his hearing, how he talked about the fact that he was very innocent. He wasn't in charge of anything when that was going on. And the money that he has and the wealth that he has, because he declared his wealth. Yes. I think he said he was worth 212 million Kenya shillings. And he said he's not a rich person, it's just enough to take care of his family. 212 million is not rich? Yes. Okay. He can support his family. Yes.
But, you know, I think we need to seem like we are doing something about corruption. So if you're fighting corruption on one hand and then you're getting a guy a job on the other, really, what image are you projecting as a country?
Very true.
Yeah, so it doesn't make sense.
And it'll raise very many questions if indeed Ben Chumo does get that chair position, because we'll wonder, okay, fine, so what's the criteria? Is a bar set so low that even if you came through a bit of, you are tainted a bit on your way to the top, you will just get in scot-free?
It seems so.
Okay, that one is still out for debate, so you'll see how that pans out. Also, a story that happened a while back, and of course is back in the corridors of justice as well. Widow of the late Olympic marathon champion Samuel Wanjiru was in court yesterday and informed the inquest that she does not know what caused the death of her husband. This, of course, happening in 2015, actually, and even up until now, we haven't gotten to the bottom of this particular issue.
And you ask yourselves, why are the courts so slow? 2015 is 3 years ago.
Are we understaffed? Are the cases too many?
That's
a question.
Yeah, because I think when you drag a case for so long, sometimes someone might actually just tamper with evidence. You know? And at the end of the day, you might find this might result in a guilty person walking. So I don't know why we take so long in such cases, especially because Wanjiru was a national figure. So at least, you know, expedite the process so that we bring the person who committed the murder to book.
Very true.
Yes.
Very true. Of course, that's on the 4th page of the People Daily. I move on to page 5, a story that had we'd spoken about last week, and it was about the dissolution of the APs, and that, of course, is going to kick off next month. Conversion of AP into regular police to kick off next month. Of course, this happening as a wider raft of changes within the police force. And since the president said he wants this initiated and he wants reports in the next 30 days, Matiang'i and, of course, and the IG have to make sure that all systems go on this issue.
But I was actually laughing because they are saying that any AP that was recruited before 2015 has to go back to Kiganjo for retraining. So I'm actually wondering what happens to APs who have huge public opinion. Exactly,
because I don't know what happens once you leave Kiganjo. I think you decide to compensate for all the hardship that you face during training.
Yes, and
you get out of shape. So if any of them will go, I doubt they'll be able to get back to where they were before.
It's interesting to see what happens. I hope someone covers that.
Those are definitely going to be interesting times on that one.
Yeah.
Still on page 6 of the PD, like we spoke about, counties sinking colossal amounts of money in terms of payment of legal fees. There's a report that has revealed that. And we talk about Nairobi and Narok topping the list there. It seems like all companies, private citizens who have their own companies have realized that, you know, working for counties, getting a tender from county, that's where the money is.
It's very lucrative.
And lawyers haven't been left behind.
Yes, and you can up your price, you know, and you'll get whatever it is that you want. And then you see the difference between the two counties that paid the most and the county that paid the least is humongous. I'm talking about 1.2 billion and 100 million, surely.
You wonder.
So 100,000 shillings actually, not
100,000 shillings.
100,000 shillings. So what is this county doing right that the others are not?
That of course, is a report right there. You can get it on the 6th page of the PD. Also, an issue that has been very emotive. It's all about the Mau evictions and the mistrust that's reigning supreme within Jubilee over this particular Mau evictions. And that bringing into the crosshairs the fact that after Kipchumba Murkomen made his comments, now it seems like everyone had to pick a side in the Jubilee camps as to where they stand, what's going on. Falling back on the proverbial community, because that's where everybody goes to.
Yeah, that's true.
And now, this, at this particular point, it risks just becoming another politicized issue.
But why would you politicize such an important issue? Because, you know, we are suffering. The climate has changed completely. We don't have rain as much as we did some time back. So this is a good thing, although they're also talking of human rights violations. But I don't know, why has it become a match between two Jubilee functions? Why can't it be a national issue? And if there is any human rights violation, why not bring it into light so that it's solved? But these evictions need to be done because we can't, you know, we can't live like this. It's getting dangerous.
Very true, because when our water towers are at risk, it means the country's water is at risk.
Yeah,
so
it's at risk.
We can't leave it to two factions within a political party to decide how the rest of the country will get their water or not. So you can get that, of course, on the 6th page of the People Daily. Finally, on the back page, it's all about Mesut Ozil's resignation that sparks Germany racism storm as Ankara cheers on. We spoke about this yesterday, actually, on Interactive. But it's a very sad story because at this particular point, he's bringing to light the fact that even as immigrants get into the country and represent the country so well, you're only as good as your last victory.
Yes.
Once you fall short of that, you go back to your country of origin and you become a Turkish, African immigrant, and that's exactly what happened to him.
So when you win, you're German. When you lose, you're African, or you're from whatever country.
Yes, and that's what he said.
That's unfortunate.
And he mentioned all the people from the German Football Association, bosses to the sponsors who backed him up. Even the media talked about all of them just reading from the same script, and he couldn't do that. finally, though, because it seems now like this is taking a political turn, because the president of Turkey actually applauded his statement and said it was very true, and it's time to fight fascism, and he supported Ozil on that. So
it's so unfortunate
very.
In this day and age.
Because sport is supposed to unite people,
yes,
not create such divisions.
Imagine.